Yo, what is going on, everybody? Today I have a review of what, in my opinion, is the best budget inshore saltwater fishing spinning rod, and that is the Croix Triumph Inshore 7-foot medium power fast action rod. I use this for everything from redfish, striped bass, speckled trout, and it is one of the rods that I trust the most when I'm out in the water, and for its price at $140, it simply can't be beat, and I'm about to tell you why. It is just great at versatility. I'm rarely going on a trip where I'm leaving this rod home because, especially throwing paddle tails, and with the weights of the paddle tails that you can throw, it is recommended on here that you throw a 3/8 to 3/4 ounce, and I've definitely broken that rule plenty, and it's been fine with going on the lower end of the spectrum. Especially 1/8 ounce is probably the lightest I will go, and that's pushing it a little bit, but from 3/16 up to probably an ounce is absolutely money. I'll also throw jerk baits on here, which is a great rod to do it with, and also straight tails like a jerk shad or a BKD where you're bouncing it off the bottom for striped bass. Over time, it has held up very well. And I will say that I have broken one, but it was 1,000,000% my fault. I was drifting in some heavy current and basically had my lure get snagged while I was dealing with another fish. I was trolling 2 rods, so I had this lure still out that was on this rod, and that ended up getting snagged, ended up wrapping around the guides and stripping probably the top 3 to 6 inches off. But like I said, 100% my fault. So, getting into more of the details of this rod, being a medium power, it is fairly flexible at the tip, plenty sensitive. Even like I said, using down to an 1/8 3/16 ounce jig heads, like it has plenty of sensitivity, and for the rest of the rod, it has plenty of backbone to drill that hook set home. The only other downfall I've had with this rod is with plenty of saltwater use, you do get a little bit of rusting here in the guides and at the seat of the guides here where there's a lot more metal. And that I can probably chalk up to not spraying the rod off enough in the past. I try to take care of my gear as best as I can, but I get plenty of use out of it, so those types of things tend to happen. And at the price point of this rod, a little bit of rusting being its biggest downfall, I mean, that's really not a huge issue at all. But for 3 to 4,000 series reels, if I had it on here right now, I could show you, it balances very well. The rod tip just slightly up, which is great, especially for fishing paddle tails and jigging off the bottom where you're constantly popping it on an upwards motion, rather than using more so like a topwater where you're keeping your rod tip down. This automatically, with, like I said, this 4,000 Ultegra, it will want to have the tip rising a little bit, which definitely helps in longer days on the water without tiring your arm out. Getting into more details of the rod's construction itself, it has an SC2 carbon blank, which is pretty standard for St. Croix rods. And if you're not familiar with St. Croix, they are definitely one of the most well-respected names in the rod business. It has Sea Guide Atlas Performance guides. They're aluminum oxide. Like I said, they do get a tad bit of rust if you're not spraying it off and drying it every use, but overall, I mean, I've gone plenty of times without spraying it off and it's still minimal rust. They do have a little bit of flex, but like I said, at that price point, I mean, you're not going to find another rod that doesn't have flex in the guides like that. It has a Sea Guide reel seat here, and I've never had any issues with it backing out or anything like that. It's very comfortable, and the cork here obviously has had plenty of use. It's dirty, it's a little cracked, but cork is cork. It's very comfortable. I like that they use all cork for the whole handle here because I feel like you get a lot more feel having your hand on the cork like that and being able to keep 1 or 2 fingers resting on the blank itself. It has 2 coats of flex coat, which gives a very high-end feel, and The colors are pretty dang awesome. That dark blue with the teal and white pairs up with a lot of different reels, especially less multicolored reels, but I think it looks fine with this. That dark blue matches up very nicely. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that it has a 5-year warranty. And if you're unfamiliar with St. Croix, they have a great warranty program. And another thing I wanted to mention here is that I love this rod so much that I actually got another one. And this is the medium light. I just basically use it for more of the finesse presentations for sight fishing with jerk shads or using a kicker crab, something like that with a smaller presentation. I have lighter pound test on here so I can whip it further. Less fish spooking when the lure is hitting the water and getting a little bit more distance. But overall, as a do-it-all rod, the medium is definitely what I would recommend, just because of especially using all sorts of different sized jig heads with paddle tails, straight tails, and being able to use hard baits like jerk baits and suspending, mirrodines, and things like that. So that just about wraps up the video for today. I'm actually surprised. I did a quick search before filming this, and I haven't seen any other reviews on this rod, which is pretty surprising since it's such a great rod and it's been on the market for 2 years. But if you enjoyed this and if you found it helpful, please smash that like button. And I also just mainly on this channel, I'm doing a lot of fishing adventures up and down the East Coast, centered in the Chesapeake Bay for now. I pump out weekly videos, and when I find gear that I trust and I get a lot of hours in and I feel that they are worthy of some praise, I like to share them to help other anglers out. And yeah, so if any of that interests you, please hit that subscribe button, and I will see you next time.